The Shelton Poltergeist. When objects move on their own in a Connecticut home, dishes rearranged themselves nightly and furniture moved during meals as an unseen force took control. Shelton, Connecticut, occupies the western bank of the Housatonic River in the lower Naugatuck Valley, a community shaped by decades of industrial manufacturing and the rhythms of working-class family life that factory work produces. By the 1980s, the town evolves through several economic phases, but retains the character of a community rooted in practical, grounded daily life. This is not a place where families typically reach for paranormal explanations before exhausting every rational alternative. When the family at the center of the Shelton Poltergeist case first contacts the New England Society for Psychic Research, they have already spent weeks attempting to identify mechanical, structural, and psychological explanations for what occurs in their home. Pipes are inspected, electrical systems are reviewed, a family therapist is consulted. None of these inquiries produces any finding that accounts for the phenomena. The referral to Ed and Lorraine Warren comes through a Catholic priest who visits the home at the family's request. His own experience during that visit changes everything. A glass moves across a kitchen counter in his direct line of sight while he stands with the family. The object travels several feet with no visible cause, no vibration, no draft strong enough to explain the movement. The priest, a man trained in pastoral care and accustomed to offering comfort in situations others might perceive as supernatural, recognizes that what he witnesses exceeds the scope of a routine pastoral response. He contacts Ed Warren within 2 days of the incident, providing a detailed account of what he observes and expressing his conviction that the family requires specialized assistance. Ed Warren receives the referral and initiates contact with the family within days. He recognizes in the priest's account the specific combination of physical displacement phenomena and intelligent response to witness presence that characterizes a genuine poltergeist manifestation. This is not residual energy replaying a past event. This is not a case of misidentified natural phenomena. The pattern the priest describes matches dozens of cases documented in the Warren archives over 3 decades of field investigation. Objects moving with apparent purpose. Phenomena intensifying in the presence of witnesses. A household environment that has become unpredictable and unsafe despite appearing entirely ordinary by every conventional measure. The Shelton Poltergeist presents with the concentrated, object-focused physical phenomena that are characteristic of the category. Dishes stacked in the kitchen cabinet are found each morning in entirely different arrangements. Not simply moved, but rearranged with a precision that rules out simple disturbance. A ceramic figurine kept on the mantelpiece is repeatedly relocated to a specific spot on the kitchen table despite being returned to the mantelpiece each evening. The family tests this pattern deliberately, marking the figurine's position and checking it at intervals throughout the night. Each morning, the figurine sits in the exact same location on the kitchen table, oriented in the exact same direction. Books fall from shelves in a sequence that witnesses describe as deliberate rather than gravitational. One after another, at intervals of several seconds, volumes tumble to the floor as family members watch. The sequence possesses a rhythm that suggests intention, as if each book is being selected and pushed individually rather than falling due to any structural failure of the shelf itself. The family examines the shelving for defects or instability. They find none. The shelves are level, properly mounted, and structurally sound. The most dramatic incidents involve heavier objects that cannot be explained by any plausible natural cause. A wooden chair in the dining room overturns itself in the presence of 3 family members during an ordinary weekday evening. No one touches the chair. No vibration or impact occurs. The chair simply tips backward and falls, as if lifted and released by invisible hands. On another occasion, a kitchen table shudders and moves several inches across the floor during a family meal. The movement is forceful enough to send the contents of the table's surface scattering. Plates slide, Glasses tip. The family members seated at the table feel the vibration through the floor and watch as the heavy wooden table shifts position without any visible cause. The family's teenage son is, in the pattern classic to poltergeist cases, the individual most consistently present during the most intense manifestations. He is in the kitchen when the glass moves in front of the priest. He is in the dining room when the chair overturns. He is seated at the table when it moves during the meal. This correlation is not lost on the family, but they resist the implication that their son is somehow responsible. He is not touching the objects. He is not engaging in any behavior that could produce the effects they all witness. Ed Warren notes this detail carefully during his initial interview with the family, understanding that the pattern is significant regardless of whether the family recognizes its importance. Ed and Lorraine Warren arrive in Shelton, accompanied by the NESBR team, and meet with the family in what Warren describes as a state of collective exhaustion. This is the particular fatigue of people who have been unable to sleep peacefully in their own home for an extended period, sustained only by the hope that help is available. The family members appear guarded but desperate. They need answers. They need the phenomena to stop. They need their home to feel safe again. Lorraine performs her initial assessment of the space, while Ed conducts his standard intake interview with each family member separately. Lorraine walks through each room of the house slowly, pausing in doorways and at thresholds, allowing her sensitivity to register whatever psychic impressions the environment holds. She reports a quality of charge in the air of the house, an energy that she describes as reactive. The presence seems to respond to her assessment by intensifying rather than withdrawing. She feels watched. She feels tested. This reactive quality, in her experience, associates with intelligent rather than purely residual phenomena. Residual hauntings replay themselves without awareness of witnesses. Intelligent presences respond, adapt, and escalate in the presence of those who recognize them. Ed Warren's interview with the teenage son produces information that Lorraine's impressions have already suggested is likely. The boy has been experiencing a period of significant emotional turbulence, though he has not disclosed this to his parents. Academic pressure, social isolation, and unresolved anger towards circumstances beyond his control have created an internal storm that the boy has managed by suppression rather than expression. The onset of the physical phenomena correlates closely with the beginning of this period. Warren is careful to explain to the family that this correlation does not mean the boy is responsible for the phenomena in any ordinary sense. The boy is not consciously producing these effects. He is not engaging in deception or trickery, but intense, unresolved emotional energy in adolescence can, in certain circumstances, function as a fuel source for poltergeist manifestation. Ed Warren's assessment of the Shelton poltergeist distinguishes carefully between two possible interpretive frameworks that he considers equally seriously in every poltergeist case. The first holds that poltergeist phenomena can originate as a form of psychokinetic eruption, the unconscious externalization of powerful emotion, often in adolescence, produces genuine physical effects without any external paranormal agent. The mind, under sufficient stress, and in individuals with particular sensitivities, exerts force on the physical environment in ways that conventional science does not yet understand. The second framework holds that genuine poltergeist cases involve an external intelligence that exploits the energy of a psychologically turbulent individual as a power source and point of entry. An inhuman entity recognizes vulnerability and uses the emotional turmoil of a household member to establish presence and exert influence. Warren's investigation of the Shelton case, and particularly Lorraine's strong impression of an externally sourced presence that is actively reactive to their investigation, leads him toward the second interpretation without dismissing the possibility that elements of both are present. The practical danger to the family is immediate and real regardless of which framework applies. The phenomena are escalating. The physical interactions are becoming more forceful. The household is approaching a threshold of disruption beyond which normal family life will become impossible to sustain. Warren communicates this assessment to the family with characteristic directness, explaining both the nature of what he believes is present and the urgency of conducting a full spiritual intervention before the situation advances further. The spiritual intervention at the Shelton property takes a two-phase approach that reflects Ed Warren's dual assessment of the case. The first phase addresses the emotional dimension. A counseling session facilitated by Lorraine Warren with the family as a whole and privately with the teenage son aims at creating a channel for the unresolved emotional energy that has been fueling the manifestations. Lorraine is not a licensed therapist, but her decades of experience with families in poltergeist situations have given her a pastoral skill in helping individuals acknowledge and articulate distress they have been suppressing. The son, given a private and non-judgmental space to describe what he has been experiencing emotionally, does so with an evident relief that Warren later describes as moving. The boy speaks about feeling invisible, unheard, and trapped by expectations he cannot meet. He speaks about anger that has nowhere to go. He speaks about fear that expressing these feelings will disappoint his parents or confirm his own sense of failure. The second phase is a formal blessing of the property conducted by the referring priest, who returns to the home for this purpose. The priest leads a systematic room-by-room cleansing that includes prayers addressed specifically to any external presence that has exploited the household's period of vulnerability. The blessing invokes protection, commands any inhuman entity to withdraw, and consecrates the space as a sanctuary for the family who dwells within it. The priest moves through the house with holy water and scripture, speaking with authority and conviction. Ed Warren accompanies him, observing the spiritual work with the focused attention of someone who understands both its theological significance and its practical function in cases of this nature. The combination of the two phases proves effective. The physical phenomena subside substantially within a week of the intervention and cease entirely within the month. The family reports that the house feels different, lighter, as if a pressure that had been bearing down on them lifts. Objects remain where they are placed. Meals occur without interruption. The teenage son, his emotional circumstances addressed honestly for the first time during the investigation, begins to show improvement in mood and behavior that his parents describe as remarkable. The Shelton poltergeist case becomes one that Ed Warren uses frequently in his university lectures as an illustration of the complexity of poltergeist phenomena and the danger of applying a single interpretive framework without genuine investigation. The case allows him to present both the psychokinetic and the external intelligence models, to explain why the distinction matters practically, and to demonstrate through a specific documented example why the Warren approach produces outcomes that neither purely scientific nor purely pastoral approaches can achieve on their own. The integration of psychological attentiveness, spiritual sensitivity, and theological rigor creates a response adequate to the complexity of the phenomena families actually experience. The family recovers fully following the intervention. The teenage son's emotional circumstances, once brought into the open and addressed with appropriate support, improve substantially in the months that follow. The household returns to normalcy. The Warren case files for Shelton are preserved in the NESBR archive as a study in the interaction between human psychology and paranormal phenomena, a relationship that Ed Warren considers one of the most important and least understood dimensions of the work he dedicates his life to. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.